Welcome to the peaceful space of sleep-friendly science, where tonight we drift along the gentle currents of our minds, exploring the fascinating and ever-shifting river of memory. Think of a cherished memory from your childhood. Feel its warmth. Now consider this. Is that memory a perfect, unchanging snapshot, or has it softened and shifted over the years? Tonight, we explore the gentle science behind this phenomenon, questioning if we are passive observers or active artists of our past. Now, settle in, take a deep breath, and let the soft sounds guide you as we begin tonight's journey into the unknown. Section 1. The River Source, the first raindrop of now. Imagine, if you will, that your mind is a vast and quiet landscape, a terrain of gentle hills and soft, mossy valleys, waiting patiently beneath an endless sky. This sky is the present moment. It is the infinite, ever-changing expanse of now. And from this sky, from this very moment, your river of memory is born. It does not begin with a great flood, but with a single drop of rain. Every sensation you experience is a droplet forming in the atmosphere of your awareness. The soft, golden light of the morning sun slanting through your window, that is a luminous drop of sight. The distant, gentle hum of the world waking up, a resonant drop of sound. The rich, earthy aroma of brewing coffee or the clean scent of rain on dry pavement, a delicate, vaporous drop of smell. The feeling of cool sheets against your skin, or the comforting weight of a blanket, a tactile drop of touch. These are not just fleeting sensations. They are the raw elements, the fundamental particles of memory. Your brain, this silent, watchful cartographer of your inner world, does not capture reality like a camera taking a photograph. A photograph is static, a perfect but lifeless replica. Instead, your brain acts more like a poet, or perhaps an alchemist. It takes the raw prose of the physical world and translates it into the unique, shimmering language of your consciousness. This process, this gentle translation from experience into essence, has a scientific name: encoding. But tonight, we can simply think of it as the first rainfall of experience. Consider the landscape of your mind. It is not a uniform, flat plane. It has its own topography, shaped by your focus, your interests, your emotions. Where your attention lingers, the ground becomes more receptive, more absorbent. Think of your attention as a subtle warmth on the land, encouraging the sky of the present moment to release its rain. You might walk through a bustling city street, a veritable downpour of sensory information. Millions of droplets are falling. The cacophony of voices, the flash of a passing car, the scent of 100 different foods, the feeling of the jostling crowd. Yet you do not remember it all. You cannot. Your mind does not create a river from this entire storm. Instead, it is your focus that guides the rain. Perhaps your attention is caught by the soulful melody of a street musician's saxophone. In that moment, the other sounds fade to a murmur. The musician's song becomes the focal point of the downpour. The light glinting off the brass instrument, the way the musician's eyes are closed in concentration, the raw, beautiful ache in the notes, these are the droplets that fall with purpose. They land on the fertile ground of your awareness, while the rest of the sensory storm simply evaporates, leaving the soil untouched. This is the first great act of creation in the life of a memory. It is a selection, a curation. Your brain is not a passive vessel being filled. It is an active participant, deciding which drops are worthy of becoming part of the river. It asks silent questions. Is this important? Is this beautiful? Is this threatening? Is this new? The answers determine which experiences begin to pool and coalesce. Let's trace the birth of one such stream. Picture a simple, quiet moment from your day. Perhaps you were sitting with a warm cup of tea. As you hold it, the process begins. The specific warmth that seeps into your palms is a droplet, encoded as a feeling of comfort. The delicate wisp of steam you watch curling into the air is another, encoded as a visual poem. You bring the cup closer, and the unique, fragrant scent, be it chamomile, or mint, or black tea with lemonies, a third, powerful droplet, tied directly to some of the oldest parts of your brain. The subtle clink of your spoon against the ceramic, a tiny, crisp note of sound. And beneath it all, the feeling of peace, of a momentary pause in the day's Russian emotional droplet that gives all the others their color and temperature. At first, they are separate. A drop of warmth here, a wisp of sight there. They are fragile, ethereal, like morning dew on a spider's web. If your attention is immediately pulled away by a sudden noise, a pressing thought, a notification on your phone, these delicate droplets can vanish as if they never were. They need a moment of quiet, a moment of stillness to find each other. And then, if that stillness is granted, a small magic occurs. The droplets begin to tremble and move. Drawn by an unseen gravity of association, they roll towards one another across the landscape of your mind. The warmth of the cup merges with the sight of the steam. The aroma of the tea weaves itself into the feeling of calm. They are no longer separate sensations. They have bonded, connected by the silent, invisible threads of your neurons, forming something new. A single, unified concept, that moment with the tea. This is the birth of a memory trace, a tiny, shimmering rivulet just beginning to carve its path. It is not a video recording. It has no timestamp, no file size. It is a multi-sensory impression, a holistic feeling. It's an abstraction, a piece of mental art inspired by reality. The brain isn't storing the teacup itself. It's storing the meaning of the teacup in that specific context. It's storing the relationship between the object, the senses, and your internal state. This is why the same event can be encoded so differently by two people. Imagine you and a friend watch the same sunset. You might be captivated by the spectacular, fiery palette of colors, the deep crimsons, the vibrant oranges, the soft purples. Your encoding of the sunset is primarily visual, a grand painting stored in your mind. Your friend, however, might be more attuned to the feeling of the day ending, the sense of transition, the quiet melancholy or peaceful finality of the moment. Their encoding is primarily emotional. When you both recall that sunset later, you are not accessing the same file. You are each returning to the unique headwaters of the river you created for yourselves, born from the same sky, but collected on different landscapes. This initial encoding is the most mysterious and perhaps the most important stage. It is the foundation upon which everything else is built. If the foundation is shallow, based on a fleeting glance or divided attention, the resulting memory will be faint and ephemeral, a stream that dries up before it ever reaches the main river. But if the foundation is deep, carved by intense focus, heightened emotion, or profound novelty, the stream will be strong and clear from its very inception. Think of a moment of great joy or profound shock. In those moments, your senses are wide open. The sky of the now seems to crack open, and a torrent of information pours down. Your brain, recognizing the significance of the event, works with incredible speed and precision to encode every possible detail. The quality of the light, the expression on a person's face, the exact words spoken, the scent in the air. It's as if your mind knows, instinctively, that this is a memory that must endure. This is not a gentle rain. This is a foundational storm that will carve a deep and lasting canyon into your mental landscape. And so, this is where our journey begins. Not with the past, but with the present. With the constant, gentle rain of now, falling upon the receptive earth of your awareness. Each moment offers a universe of potential memories, a sky full of droplets. It is your attention that acts as the divining rod, choosing where the water will pool. It is your mind that acts as the alchemist, turning the lead of raw sensation into the gold of a mental impression. This tiny, newborn stream of memory, formed from a handful of sensory droplets, is now alive. It is a fragile but real entity within you. But it is vulnerable. It has no permanence yet. It is a mere whisper of water, a suggestion of a current. To survive, to become a part of the great, flowing river of who you are, it must begin to move. It must leave the high ground of its birth and seek its first harbor, a place to rest, to deepen, to connect with other streams, and to gather its strength before the long and transformative voyage ahead. Section 2. The Harbor of the Hippocampus. The tiny, newborn stream of memory, born from the first rain of the present moment, cannot linger on the high ground of pure sensation. It begins to flow, pulled by an invisible gravity, seeking lower, more stable ground. It trickles down from the exposed hillsides of your sensory cortex, the vast plains of sight, the echoing canyons of sound, and journeys inward, toward a most remarkable and vital sanctuary in the heart of your mental landscape. We are arriving now at a sheltered, crescent-shaped bay, a place of profound importance. This is the harbor of the hippocampus. Imagine it as a warm, deep-water inlet, shielded from the wild, open ocean of raw consciousness. Its very name, in our world, means seahorse, a nod to its beautiful, curved shape. And here, in the twin harbors that grace both sides of your brain, your new memories find their first safe anchorage. This is not their final destination, but it is the most crucial waypoint on their journey to permanence. Here, the fleeting impression is transformed into a coherent episode. Here, the story of what just happened is written. As your little stream of memory, that moment with the teacup, flows into this bay, it undergoes a transformation. The fresh water of immediate experience mingles with the rich, brackish water of this ancient neural structure. The memory is no longer just a collection of associated feelings. Here in the hippocampus, it is given context. It is given a time, a place, and a meaning. Think of the beings who work in this harbor. They are not noisy, bustling dockworkers, but silent, masterful librarians. They are the cartographers of your personal history. When the teacup memory arrives, they don't just see warmth, steam, and chamomile. Their first task is to bind these threads together into a single, cohesive tapestry. Using the intricate chemistry of your brain, they weave the visual memory of the steam, the tactile memory of the heat, the olfactory memory of the scent, and the emotional memory of peace into one inseparable whole. The work is precise. A specific pattern of neurons fires, a unique constellation of light in the darkness of your mind. This pattern is the memory in its newly integrated form. The individual streams have now truly become one. But these librarians do more than just bind. They are also archivists of time and space. The hippocampus is your brain's innate GPS. It is constantly mapping your location in the world. So, as it encodes the teacup memory, it simultaneously makes a note of where this happened. In the quiet corner of the kitchen, with the morning light falling just so, it drops a pin on the vast, unfolding map of your life's journey. And it also notes the when. Not like a clock, but in relation to what came before and what might come after. It happened after you woke up, but before you started your day's work. It creates a sequence, a narrative. This is the birth of an episodic memoria, memory of an event, a scene from the movie of your life. It is the difference between knowing a fact, like tea is a hot beverage, and reliving an experience. I remember that quiet moment this morning, holding the warm mug, feeling peaceful. The first is a piece of information that could belong to anyone. The second is yours alone. It is a story, and the hippocampus is its first author. Let us watch these silent artisans at their work. They take the memory and give it a temporary tag, a unique signature. This signature links all the different parts of the experience, which are still physically stored in the different regions of the brain where they were first perceived. The visual part of the teacup memory resides in your visual cortex, the feeling of warmth in your somatosensory cortex, the emotion of peace in conversation with your amygdala. The hippocampus doesn't hold the memory itself, not entirely. Instead, it holds the master key, the index card, the central blueprint that knows how to find and reactivate all those scattered pieces simultaneously, allowing you to re-experience the moment as a whole. This process of strengthening the connections is a delicate dance of chemistry and electricity. When you first experience the moment, the neural pathway is faint, like a thin pencil line. But here in the harbor, as the memory is held and processed, that line is traced over and over. With each pulse of neural firing, The connection between the neurons involved becomes stronger, more efficient. It is like the librarians are tying the knots of association tighter and tighter, turning a flimsy string into a sturdy rope. This is the physical shadow of a thought, the cellular basis of a memory beginning to take root. The harbor is a busy place, though its work is silent. Throughout your waking hours, a constant flotilla of new experiences arrives. The memory of the teacup is now docked beside the memory of a conversation you had, which is anchored near the echo of a song you heard on the radio, which is bobbing gently next to the memory of a sentence you read in a book. And here, a new magic begins to happen. These newly docked memories begin to communicate. They are not isolated. They are part of a dynamic, interconnected network. The feeling of peace from your teacup moment might begin to resonate with a peaceful memory from years ago that is also archived nearby. The scent of chamomile might trigger a faint, ghost-like connection to a time your grandmother made you tea when you were a child. The harbor of the hippocampus is not just a storage facility. It is an incubator for association. It is where your mind begins to find patterns, to link seemingly unrelated events, to build the vast, intricate web of knowledge and experience that makes you who you are. It's why a certain song can transport you to a specific summer, or a particular scent can bring back a flood of childhood feelings. The initial links were forged here, in this sheltered bay. Yet, for all its profound importance, the memory's stay in this harbor is temporary. The hippocampus has a limited capacity. It is a magnificent short-term and intermediate-term storage facility, but it is not built for permanence. It is like a small, bustling port city. It cannot house every ship that ever comes to shore forever. If it did, it would quickly become clogged, with no room for new arrivals. The new experiences of tomorrow need this space. And so, the memories docked here are still in a fragile state. They are coherent, they are contextualized, but they have not yet become a permanent part of the landscape of your mind. They are like beautiful ships, fully assembled, waiting at anchor. A strong storm, a traumatic event, or even the simple, overwhelming influx of too much new information can still cause them to break their moorings and drift away, lost to the fog. They are still, in a sense, written in water. For a memory to achieve true permanence, for it to become part of the bedrock of your knowledge and yourself, it must undergo one more journey. It must be moved from this temporary harbor and integrated into the vast continent of your long-term memory, the neocortex. The blueprint, the master key held by the hippocampus, must be copied and distributed, etched into the very fabric of your brain. This next journey is not one of frantic activity, but of profound quiet. It happens not when your mind is busy navigating the world, but when it is at rest. It is a secret, nocturnal process, a silent work that takes place in the deep, slow currents of the night. As the conscious world fades and you drift towards sleep, the bustling activity in the harbor of the hippocampus begins to change. The arrival of new ships ceases. The waters grow still. The silent librarians prepare for their most sacred task, to set the most important memories free on their final voyage to a place where they will last a lifetime. Section 3. The silent work of the current. As your conscious mind lets go of the day, as the gentle tide of sleep pulls you away from the shores of wakefulness, our journey follows the memories deeper into the quiet interior of your mental landscape. The bustling, sunlit harbor of the hippocampus now lies under a blanket of stars. The waters are calm, the air is still. This is not a time of inactivity. It is the beginning of the most crucial and mysterious phase of a memory's life, the great, silent transfer known as consolidation. Imagine that as you sleep, a slow, deep, powerful current begins to flow out of the hippocampal harbor. This is not a rushing river, but a vast, invisible, oceanic current, moving with the unhurried certainty of the turning earth. This current is the rhythmic pulse of your sleeping brain. As you drift into the deeper stages of non-REM sleep, your brainwaves slow down, becoming great, rolling swells known as slow-wave sleep. And in the synchronized calm of these waves, the magic happens. The memories that were carefully assembled and anchored in the hippocampus are now gently lifted from their moorings. The librarians of the harbor, their daytime work of receiving and cataloging complete, now begin their nightly task of broadcasting. They take the blueprint of a memory, the unique neural pattern of that teacup moment, with its warmth, its scent, its peace, and they begin to replay it. Not just once, but over and over again. This replay is a silent dialogue between the hippocampus and the neocortex, the vast, folded continent of your brain that is the ultimate repository of long-term memory. Picture the hippocampus, nestled deep in the temporal lobe, sending out a soft, phosphorescent pulse of information, the memory's signature. This pulse travels along ancient neural pathways, reaching out to all the disparate regions of the cortex where the original sensations were born. A pulse of light travels to the visual cortex, whispering, "Remember the steam curling upwards." Another pulse travels to the somatosensory cortex, saying, "Remember the warmth in the hands." A third, to the olfactory bulb, "Remember the scent of chamomile." And a fourth, to the frontal lobes, "Remember the feeling of peace, the context of the morning." With each pulse during these slow waves of sleep, the connections between these cortical areas are strengthened. The hippocampus is acting like a teacher, patiently guiding its students. The various parts of the neocortex don't talk to each other directly. At first, they need the hippocampus to initiate the conversation. But with each repetition, they begin to form their own connections. The visual cortex starts to link directly to the somatosensory cortex for this specific memory. The scent becomes directly tied to the feeling of peace. It's as if you were learning to navigate a city with a guide. At first, you need the guide, the hippocampus, to show you the way from the museum to the park. The guide points out every turn. But after making the journey several times, you begin to recognize the landmarks yourself. You know that the tall clock tower is near the street that leads to the park's entrance. Eventually, you no longer need the guide. You have formed your own mental map. The knowledge is now yours, integrated into your own understanding of the city. This is what happens to your memories as you sleep. The hippocampus is the guide, and with each replay, it is helping the neocortex to build its own, independent map of the memory. The memory is slowly, carefully being woven into the permanent fabric of your brain. The knots that were once held together by the central authority of the hippocampus are now being tied directly, cortex to cortex. The memory is becoming decentralized, distributed, and in doing so, it is becoming stable and enduring. This nocturnal process is also a time of curation and refinement. Not every memory that docks in the hippocampus is chosen for this grand voyage. Your brain, in its deep wisdom, prioritizes. The memories that were tagged with strong emotion, the joys, the fears, the moments of profound learning are given VIP passage. They are replayed more frequently, more insistently, their neural pathways etch deeper and deeper. The mundane, trivial details of the day, the memories with no emotional or informational weight, are often left behind. They are the ships that are allowed to drift away from the harbor, their temporary moorings dissolving in the night, freeing up space for the new day. This is a gentle, necessary pruning. As the night deepens, another phase of sleep contributes to this process in a different way. You drift into the strange and wonderful world of REM sleep, the stage of dreaming. Here, the brain's activity becomes more chaotic, more exploratory. The deep, slow current gives way to quicker, more unpredictable eddies and whirlpools. And in this state, your newly consolidating memories are not just strengthened, they are tested, explored, and integrated in a more creative way. Imagine that teacup memory, now partially woven into your cortex. During a dream, the feeling of peace from that memory might be lifted out and connected to a completely different scenario. The image of the steam might morph into fog rolling over a landscape from a book you read. This is not the brain making a mistake. This is the brain playing. It is exploring the boundaries of the new memory, seeing how it fits with the vast library of everything you already know. It is finding hidden connections, creating new metaphors, and deepening your understanding of the world in an abstract way. It is the difference between memorizing a fact and truly understanding its implications. This dream state integration is what allows you to wake up with a new insight, the solution to a problem, or a fresh perspective that wasn't there when you went to bed. This is why sleep is not a passive state, not a switching off of the mind. It is a profoundly active and essential period of mental housekeeping and creativity. A night of deep, restorative sleep is like giving your memories the quiet, uninterrupted time they need to complete their journey from fragile impression to stable, integrated knowledge. Without it, memories can remain stuck in the harbor, vulnerable and disconnected, waiting for a transfer that never comes. By the time the first light of morning begins to touch the horizon, the work is largely done. The silent, deep current has receded. The teacup memory no longer depends solely on the hippocampus to exist. Its essence, its blueprint, has been copied and woven into the great tapestry of your neocortex. It has become a part of the permanent landscape. The hippocampus is now free, its harbor cleared, ready to receive the new flotilla of experiences that the coming day will bring. The memory is now safe. It has survived its most perilous journeys. It has been encoded from sensation, organized in the harbor, and consolidated by the deep currents of sleep. It feels permanent, solid, like a stone monument in the garden of your mind. But this is where the river story takes another, fascinating turn. For a memory is never truly a stone. It is still part of the water. And the next time you reach for it, the next time you call it to mind, you will discover that the act of remembering is not a simple visit to a monument. It is an act of creation all its own. Section 4. Casting a net into the stream. The memory of the teacup moment, now consolidated, rests within the vast continent of your mind. It does not sit there like a book on a shelf, waiting to be passively read. It is not a stone monument, perfect and unchanging, which you can visit and observe from a distance. No, the memory has become part of the water itself, an integral, shimmering current within the great river of your personal history. And the river flows on, silent and deep, within you. To remember, then, is not to stand on the bank and watch. It is an action. It is to step into the water. It is to cast a net of inquiry into the ever-flowing stream of what was, and to see what you bring forth. This act, which we call retrieval, is perhaps the most profound illusion your mind performs. It feels effortless, instantaneous. It feels like playback. But it is an act of breathtaking, invisible creation. It is a performance of the past, staged in the theater of the present. Let us begin with the cue, the gentle tug that prompts the act of remembering. This is the moment you decide to cast your net. The cue can be a direct question from another. Did you have a peaceful morning? Or it can be an internal whisper, a fleeting desire to reconnect with that moment of calm. It can also be sensory. The scent of brewing tea later in the day, the sight of a similar ceramic mug, the feeling of warmth on your hands. These cues are the coordinates. They tell you where in the vast, flowing river you intend to cast your net. Once the net is cast, a beautiful, silent symphony begins. The cue that question, that scent activates a key set of neurons in your cortex, the ones most strongly associated with the memory. This is the lead musician sounding the first note. And from this note, a wave of energy, a cascade of activation, spreads outwards through the neural network. It is a call echoing across the landscape. Bring me the teacup moment. And the landscape answers. From the visual cortex, a fragment arises, not a perfect photograph, but a ghost of an image, the impression of curling steam. From the somatosensory cortex, another fragment emerges, an echo of warmth, a memory of texture. The olfactory centers offer up a wisp of chamomile scent. And from the intricate pathways of your frontal and temporal lobes, the deeper context appears, the feeling tone of peace, the knowledge that it was morning, the sense of a pause before the day began. These are the elements you have caught in your net. They are not a single, coherent object. They are shimmering, disconnected pieces, shards of sensory light and echoes of feeling, pulled from their resting places all across the great expanse of your brain. 10 minutes ago, they were dormant, quiet. Now, they are active, alive, and ready to be woven together. This is where the true artist emerges, the storyteller of your conscious mind. This role is largely played by your prefrontal cortex, the great conductor of your mental orchestra, the weaver sitting at the luminous loom of the present moment. This weaver takes the scattered threads pulled from the river and, in an instant, reassembles them into a coherent tapestry. It creates a story. It constructs a narrative that feels whole and true. You experience this construction not as a laborious process, but as a sudden, unified flowering in your mind, the memory of the teacup. But here is the critical, astonishing truth. The weaver is not a dispassionate historian, working from a fixed, unchangeable blueprint. The weaver is you now. Its tools, its techniques, its artistic choices are all shaped by your present state. Your mood, your environment, your reasons for remembering all of these factors influence how the memory is reassembled. The story is being told for an audience of one your present self, and it is tailored for that audience. Imagine you are recalling the teacup memory in a moment of stress and anxiety. The weaver of your mind, seeking solace, might assemble the fragments with a focus on the peace and quiet. It will amplify the feeling of calm, making it the central, most luminous thread in the tapestry. The memory becomes a refuge, a mental sanctuary. The reconstruction serves a purpose: to soothe. Now, imagine recalling the very same memory while telling a friend about your day, wanting to express a feeling of simple, mundane beauty. The weaver might choose to highlight different threads. Perhaps it emphasizes the visual details, the way the light hit the dust motes dancing in the steam, the specific, earthy color of the ceramic. The reconstruction becomes an act of communication, a story told to another, embellished with the details that make it more vivid and relatable. Or, consider recalling it in a state of melancholy. The weaver, influenced by the sadness in the air, might reassemble the memory with a poignant filter. The peace of the moment might now be tinged with a sense of its fleetingness. The quiet becomes not just calm, but a prelude to the noise that followed. The warmth of the cup might feel contrasted with the present coldness. The facts are the same: a cup, tea, warmth, steam, but the feeling, the very soul of the memory, has been profoundly altered by the emotional weather of the present moment. This is why remembering is not retrieval. It is reinvention. It is reconstruction. Each time you call forth the memory, you're not pulling a finished artifact from a vault. You're gathering the raw materials and building it anew. You are the poet, and the memory is a poem that you rewrite slightly with each recitation. You think you are remembering the past, but you are always, inescapably, doing so through the lens of the person you are today. This creative act is not a flaw in your mind's design. It is one of its most remarkable features. It allows your past to remain relevant, to be a living, breathing part of your present. It allows you to draw new lessons from old experiences, to find new meanings in familiar stories. Your past is not a static landscape you are leaving behind. It is a dynamic river that flows with you, its waters constantly mingling with the waters of now. So the next time you reach into your mind for a memory, whether it is a cherished moment from childhood or a simple detail from yesterday, be aware of the miracle that is unfolding. You are not just a spectator. You are the performer. You are the director, the set designer, the musician, and the audience, all at once. You are staging a play of the past, and with every performance, you are not only reliving a story, you are telling it to yourself again for the first time. And in this telling, something even more mysterious happens. The performance doesn't just exist for a moment and then vanish. The very act of staging the play leaves a mark on the script, subtly altering it for every future performance. Section 5. The shifting sands of reconsolidation. The performance is over. The beautiful, fleeting reconstruction of your teacup memory, staged in the theater of your present mind, fades. You turn your attention to the next moment, the next thought. It feels as if the memory has simply returned to its quiet, dormant state, like a book placed back upon its shelf. But this is another of the river's beautiful deceptions. The memory does not simply go back. It is never truly the same again. Each time you cast your net into the river and pull a memory into the light of your conscious awareness, you are doing more than just observing it. In that moment of retrieval, the memory becomes vulnerable. It enters a fragile, pliable state, like ancient, hardened clay that has been moistened and made soft again. For a brief, precious window of time, the memory is alive, awake, and open to change. This delicate chemical dance, this process of restorage, is known as reconsolidation. It is the secret mechanism by which our past remains a living, breathing entity, constantly evolving with us. Let us return to the river. Imagine that the memory is not just the water, but also the riverbed itself, the sand, silt, and stones that define its course. When the memory is dormant, the water flows over it, clear and undisturbed. But when you retrieve it, when you cast your net, you are stepping into the stream. Your presence stirs the water. The gentle currents of your present thoughts and feelings swirl around the memory, and the fine sand of its foundation is lifted, held in suspension. In this moment, the memory is labeled. It is unfixed. The new elements present in the water, the emotional weather of your current mood, new information you've learned since the memory was formed can now mingle with the original particles of the memory. They float together in the momentary cloudiness of recollection. Then, as your attention moves on, the process of reconsolidation begins. The water calms. The particles begin to settle again. But they do not settle in the exact same pattern as before. A grain of sand from the present moment might now land beside a pebble from the past. The riverbed is subtly, almost imperceptibly reformed. The memory is put back into storage, but it is a new version. The clay has rehardened, but with a new thumbprint pressed into its surface. Consider the teacup memory. The first time you recalled it, you were feeling stressed, and so the weaver of your mind amplified the feeling of peace. During that brief, labile state, the amplified feeling of peacefulness became intertwined with the core memory itself. The next time you recall that moment, you may not need to be stressed to feel its profound calm. The calmness has become a more central, more integral part of the memory's very structure. You have, in essence, edited your own past to make it a more effective sanctuary. You have taught the memory how to soothe you. This is a gentle, often beautiful process. It is how we create a coherent life story. Imagine you remember an argument with a loved one. The first few times you recall it, you might feel the sting of anger or hurt. The memory is sharp-edged, painful. But years later, having forgiven them and having understood their perspective, you recall the argument again. You retrieve it into a mind that is now filled with the waters of wisdom, compassion, and love. As the memory becomes soft and pliable, these new, gentle feelings can now flow into it. The anger doesn't necessarily vanish, but it is softened. The memory of the harsh words is now stored alongside the newer, deeper understanding of the person. When the memory reconsolidates, it is no longer just a memory of a fight. It becomes a memory of a challenge that was overcome, a testament to the strength of your bond. The sharp-edged stone has been tumbled in the river of time and recollection, its edges smoothed and worn. You did not change the past event, but you have profoundly changed its meaning and its power over you. This is the hidden gift of a malleable memory. It allows for growth, for healing, for redemption. It is the mechanism that allows us to recontextualize our own traumas. By retrieving a painful memory in a safe, therapeutic environment, the fear and threat associated with it can be gently uncoupled. The memory is brought into the light of a present where you are safe, where you are supported. This new context of safety becomes part of the reconsolidated memory. The story is not erased, but it is rewritten. The monster in the dark closet of the past can, with time and gentle recollection, become just an old coat, misunderstood in the shadows. But the shifting sands can also work in other ways. The process is neutral. It is simply the way the river flows. Sometimes, new information can be accidentally woven into an old memory, subtly corrupting its accuracy. You might remember a childhood birthday party. You remember a red balloon. For years, the memory is clear. Then you see a photograph from that day, and there are no red balloons, only blue ones. The next time you recall the party without the photograph, what do you see? Your mind, in its desire for coherence, might seamlessly insert the blue balloons into your memory, erasing the red one. Or, even more strangely, it might now remember both, a confusing blend of your original memory and the new information. You have unintentionally contaminated the waters. This is not a failure of your brain. It is a testament to its relentless drive to create a single, unified story. It abhors a vacuum, it dislikes contradiction, and it will use the material of the present to patch the holes and smooth the inconsistencies of the past. Over a lifetime, these subtle shifts accumulate. A memory recalled 1,000 times is like a river that has carved a deep, well-worn canyon. The core of the memory, the main channel, is likely strong and true, but the banks have been endlessly reshaped. The fine details have been eroded away, while the emotional essence has been polished and amplified. A vague, happy feeling from childhood might, through repeated, fond recollection, blossom into a memory of a perfect, sun-drenched, idyllic summer day that, in reality, was probably just a pleasant Tuesday afternoon. We are the curators of our own personal museums, and we are constantly touching up the paint on our favorite masterpieces. So, when you think of your past, do not imagine a solid, unchangeable landscape. See it instead as a dynamic, living river system. Some memories are deep, slow-moving rivers, their courses set and powerful. Others are small, meandering streams, their paths easily diverted. But all of them are subject to the same elemental force, the present moment. Each recollection is a gentle rain that can, over time, reshape the very ground of who you believe yourself to be. The river's flow is not always gentle and uniform, however. Sometimes, other forces can rush into the stream, turning a placid river into a raging torrent, or dyeing its clear waters with vibrant, indelible colors. These are the powerful tributaries of emotion, and they can change the entire character of the river of memory in an instant. Section 6. The emotional tributaries. Our river of memory does not flow in isolation. It is not a self-contained channel running through a barren landscape. Its course is fed by many other streams, some small and trickling, others vast and powerful, that merge with its waters and change its character forever. Of all these, the most powerful and transformative are the emotional tributaries, the torrents of feeling that rush down from the high country of your limbic system. And at the headwaters of this potent stream sits a small, almond-shaped cluster of neurons, a watchful gatekeeper known as the amygdala. Imagine the amygdala not as a part of the brain, but as a spirit of the landscape, a guardian of significance. It is ancient, primal, and its sole purpose is to ask one question of every experience that rains down upon the mind. Does this matter? Its language is not logic or reason, but feeling. It speaks in the tongue of joy, fear, surprise, anger, sadness, and delight. When an experience is neutral, like tying your shoe or walking down a familiar hallway, the amygdala is quiet. The river flows on, clear and untroubled. But when an experience arrives that is charged with emotion, the amygdala awakens. It acts like a lock on a canal, opening its gates and releasing a powerful flood of neurochemicals into the stream of memory formation. This emotional torrent doesn't just join the river, it fundamentally transforms it. It is like pouring a vibrant, indelible dye into clear water. Let's revisit the birth of a memory, that first rainfall of experience. If a moment is laced with strong emotion, say, the moment of a sudden, joyful surprise, the amygdala sounds an alarm of significance. Pay attention. It signals to the rest of the brain. This one is important. In response to this signal, the encoding process goes into overdrive. Your senses become sharper, as if a veil has been lifted. The light seems brighter, the sounds clearer, the details more crisp. Your mind, guided by the amygdala's urgent message, begins to capture every possible facet of the experience. This emotional charge acts as a chemical highlighter, a tag that says, "Save this." Save all of this. This is why memories for highly emotional events, your first love, a moment of terrifying danger, a great personal triumph, a profound loss, are so often seared into our minds with a cinematic vividness. They're not just memories, they are flashbulb memories. It feels as though a flash went off, illuminating the entire scene in perfect, permanent detail. You remember not just what happened, but where you were, who you were with, the clothes you were wearing, the sound of a distant siren. The emotional tributary has carved a deep and immediate canyon into the landscape of your mind. This dye of emotion doesn't fade once the memory is encoded. It flows with the memory into the harbor of the hippocampus. Here, the librarians see the vibrant color and immediately give the memory priority status. An emotionally charged memory is not left to bob gently at the back of the harbor. It is brought to the forefront. It is given special treatment. The process of binding its elements together is performed with extra care, the knots tied with exceptional strength. And then, during the silent, nocturnal work of consolidation, these colorful memories are chosen first. The slow, deep current of sleep replays them with greater frequency and intensity. The dialogue between the hippocampus and the neocortex is not a whisper for these memories. It is a clear, resonant song. The guide is ensuring, with absolute certainty, that the mind will never lose the map to this significant place. The emotional charge acts as a powerful catalyst, accelerating the memory's journey into the permanent bedrock of the neocortex. Once consolidated, these emotional memories remain as powerful currents within the larger river. They are the rapids, the waterfalls, the deep, swirling eddies. When you cast your net to retrieve them, they come forth with a force and clarity that other, more placid memories lack. Recalling a neutral, everyday lunch from 5 years ago might be difficult. You might pull up only a few vague, colorless fragments. But recalling the moment you received a piece of life-changing news even from decades ago can feel like stepping back into the torrent. The feeling tone of the moment, the shock, the elation, the dread rushes back with astonishing immediacy. The dye is still potent. The amygdala's influence is a double-edged sword, a force of nature that can both illuminate and obscure. The same mechanism that burns moments of joy into your soul can also etch moments of trauma with agonizing precision. For someone who has experienced a terrifying event, the emotional tributary of fear can be so powerful that it overwhelms the river. The memory is not just vivid, it can become intrusive, replaying itself without being consciously summoned, pulling the person back into the rapids against their will. The amygdala, in its attempt to keep you safe by never letting you forget a potential threat, can inadvertently create a prison of the past. Emotion also acts as a powerful editor during reconsolidation. When you retrieve a memory, the emotional weather of your present moment determines which tributary will flow into the newly pliable memory. If you recall a happy childhood memory while feeling sad, the tributary of your present sadness can mingle with the waters of that past joy. When the memory reconsolidates, it may be stored with a new, bittersweet flavor. The happiness is still there, but it is now viewed through a veil of loss or longing. Conversely, recalling a difficult time from a position of strength and happiness can infuse that old memory with the tributary of resilience. The memory of struggle is now reconsolidated alongside the knowledge of your survival, your growth. The memory's color shifts from a dark, murky gray to the deep, rich color of hard-won wisdom. More than just coloring individual memories, these emotional tributaries shape the very course of the main river over time. If your life has been marked by many moments of joy and security, the dominant emotional current in your river of memory will be warm and life-giving. You will likely have a more positive, optimistic narrative of your own life. If, however, your life has been fed by many tributaries of fear, loss, or anxiety, the overall temperature of your river can become cold and turbulent. The past can feel like a dangerous place. This is the great confluence within us. The cognitive river of what happened is constantly merging with the emotional river of how it felt. And the two become inseparable. There is no such thing as a purely objective memory of any significant event. Every memory we hold is a story co-authored by the rational cartographer and the passionate spirit of the landscape. It is a fusion of fact and feeling, information and interpretation. Understanding this allows us to be more compassionate with ourselves and others. Our memories are not just a record of our lives, but a reflection of our emotional journeys. They are not cold, hard data points, but warm, living stories, dyed with the unique colors of our deepest feelings. But sometimes the creative and associative nature of the mind, in its quest to tell a coherent story, can do something even more mysterious. It can create tributaries from rivers that never existed. It can produce mirages on the water, memories of things that never truly happened. Section 7. Mirages on the water. The river flows on, and as we gaze into its depths, we see the currents of our life story, colored by the vibrant dyes of emotion. We trust this river. We believe its flow represents the truth of our past. But the mind, the great landscape through which this river runs, is a place of immense creativity and subtle magic. Sometimes, under the right conditions of light and atmosphere, it can create illusions upon the water's surface, shimmering mirages, phantom islands, memories of events and experiences that, in the objective world, never truly were. These are what science calls false memories. And it is essential, as we drift through this gentle exploration, that we understand them not as failures of a broken machine, but as fascinating, inevitable byproducts of a healthy, imaginative, and deeply associative mind. They are not lies your mind tells you. They are stories it creates in its relentless, good-faith effort to make sense of the world. One of the most common ways a mirage appears is through a simple misfiling of information, a phenomenon we can call source amnesia. Imagine your mind as a vast, quiet archive. In this archive are millions of photographs, documents, and recordings of every sensation, fact, and story you have ever absorbed. Most are neatly cataloged. The photograph of your childhood home is in the album labeled My Childhood. The fact that Paris is the capital of France is in the file drawer labeled General Knowledge. But the archivist, your mind, is busy. Sometimes, a piece of information comes in without a clear label of origin. Perhaps you read a vivid story in a novel, saw a dramatic scene in a film, or heard a friend recount a detailed anecdote about their own life. You absorb the details, the images, the feelings. The photograph is real, and it is now in your archive. But its source tag is missing. Later, when you are mentally searching for memories related to a certain time or place, the archivist might stumble upon this vivid, untagged photograph. In its desire to create a complete picture, it might inadvertently place it into one of your own personal albums. It seems to say, this must have happened to me. And so, you remember being at a specific concert you never attended because a friend's passionate retelling became an untagged photograph in your mind. You remember a specific detail from a family vacation, a particular funny hat someone wore that was actually from a home movie you watched years later. The memory feels entirely real because the visual and emotional fragments are real. They exist within you. It is only their source, their context, that has been mistakenly rewritten. You are not remembering the event. You are remembering the story of the event and have forgotten you are not the protagonist. Another way these phantom islands form is through the gentle planting of a seed. Your memory, especially when it is in that soft, pliable state of reconsolidation, is like fertile soil. An external suggestion, a leading question from a therapist, a speculative comment from a parent, a story told by an older sibling can be a seed carried on the wind. Weren't you scared of the neighbor's dog when you were little? Someone might ask. You may have had no strong memory of it before, but the question has planted a seed. The next time you think of your childhood street, that seed is there. Your mind, the ever-diligent gardener, examines it. A memory of being scared of that dog? It's plausible. The dog was large. I was small. Finding no direct contradiction, your mind might begin to nurture the seed. It weaves the suggestion into the existing tapestry of your past. It might even generate new, supporting details to make the story more coherent. A memory of the dog's bark, a feeling of hiding behind your mother's legs. Over time and repeated recollection, this planted seed can grow into a lush, vibrant memory that feels as authentic as any other. This is not a malicious process. It is the mind's profound desire for narrative cohesion, its instinct to connect the dots and fill in the blanks to create a more complete and understandable story of your life. Perhaps the most fundamental reason for these mirages lies in the very nature of how we remember. Your brain is not a video camera obsessed with literal, verbatim detail. It is a poet obsessed with meaning and essence. When you experience an event, your mind works brilliantly to extract the gist of it. For our teacup moment, the gist was a quiet, peaceful, solitary moment of warmth and calm. The brain holds onto this gist with incredible tenacity. Later, when you reconstruct the memory, you start with this blueprint of feeling. You then fill in the plausible details from your vast library of general knowledge, what we might call your internal schemas. Your mind asks, what does a quiet, peaceful morning look like? And it answers with its own stock footage. Perhaps a sunbeam slanting through the window, the faint sound of birdsong, the specific white color of a generic teacup. These details may or may not have been present in the original moment, but they fit the gist perfectly. They are plausible fictions. They enrich the story, make it feel more complete, and reinforce the core emotional truth of the experience. The memory becomes a composite, a beautiful blend of what was and what must have been. This is why a group of people can witness the same event and later produce varied, often contradictory, but equally confident accounts. Each person extracted a slightly different gist and rebuilt the story using their own unique set of plausible details. Finally, there is the blurry line between the river of memory and its neighbor, the vast ocean of imagination. The very act of imagining an event can, over time, make it feel like a memory. This is called imagination inflation. The neural pathways you use to vividly imagine something are strikingly similar to the ones you use to recall it. If you repeatedly imagine yourself giving a brilliant, witty speech at a party you attended, you are strengthening a neural trace. Each act of imagination is like a rehearsal. After enough rehearsals, the performance can feel so familiar that your brain mistakes it for a memory of a real event. The map you drew of a fantasy land has been visited so many times, it begins to feel like a place you once lived. These mirages on the water are not a sign of weakness. They are the signature of a mind that is creative, associative, and narrative-driven. Your memory's primary goal is not to be a perfect, historical record for a court of law. Its deeper purpose is to construct a continuous and coherent sense of self, a story that can guide you into the future. It is a storyteller, and sometimes, for the sake of a better, more meaningful story, it will invent a beautiful detail, borrow a scene from another's tale, or smooth over a contradiction. It is a humbling and wondrous realization. The river that flows within you is a personal truth, not an objective one. It is a story you are constantly co-writing with your past and present self. And this raises a fascinating question. If our individual rivers are so personal, so subject to reinvention and mirage, what happens when they flow together? What happens when our streams of memory merge to form the great, shared river of a family, a culture, or a history? Section 8. The Great Confluence. Your river of memory, so personal and unique, does not flow into a void. It is not destined to remain a secluded stream, forever winding through the private valleys of your own mind. As it grows in volume and power, it inevitably journeys outward, seeking a larger body of water. You begin to hear a distant, deeper roar. The landscape opens up, and you see it ahead. The place where your small, clear stream flows into and merges with a river far greater than your own. This is the Great Confluence, the place where personal memory meets the vast, powerful, and ancient river of collective memory. This is the river of your family. Imagine it first. As your stream joins it, your waters begin to mingle. The color of your experiences, The unique emotional dyes of your life now swirl together with the currents of your parents, your siblings, your ancestors. This merging is not a passive process. It is an active, constant exchange facilitated by the most powerful of human magics, storytelling. Think of a family dinner table, a holiday gathering. As stories are told, do you remember the time when? Your grandfather used to say, "The waters are being poured from one stream into another." Your memory of a childhood vacation is clear in your mind, but as your sibling recounts it, they add a detail you had forgotten or emphasize a different feeling. This new information flows into your stream. The next time you recall that vacation, their version will be part of the memory. The two streams have begun to harmonize, to flow as one. The family photo album, the box of old letters, the shared recipe for a special meal, these are the anchors in this shared riverbed. They are the common reference points, the solid stones that all the individual streams must flow around. They create a shared topography, a common narrative. Over time, a family mythology is born. It is a story co-created by everyone, a tapestry woven from dozens of different threads of memory. Some threads are vibrant and true to one person's experience. Others are faded, misremembered. Still others are mirages, beautiful fictions that have been told so often they have become family canon. This shared river gives you your first sense of history, of belonging to a story larger than your own. It is the first water you drink that tells you who you are in relation to others. As this family river flows onward, it soon reaches an even larger confluence, merging with the river of your community, your culture. This current is wider, deeper, and slower, carrying the memories of generations. Its waters are flavored with the myths, legends, and histories of the place you call home. The monument in the town square is a deep, silent memory carved in stone. The name of your street holds a story. The local festival, repeated year after year, is a ritual that recharges a specific collective memory, allowing everyone to drink from the same cup of shared experience. And this great cultural river flows, in turn, into the immense, continent-spanning river of national and human history. Its currents are shaped by history books, by foundational documents, by epic poems and national anthems. Its emotional temperature is set by shared triumphs and collective traumas, wars, revolutions, discoveries, disasters. When you feel a sense of national identity, a connection to people you have never met who share your history, you are feeling the pull of this immense river. You recognize its water as your own. Your personal stream, born from a single raindrop of your own sensation, is now an inseparable part of this oceanic flow. This great confluence is the source of our deepest sense of belonging and identity. To be part of a shared river is to be rooted, to be held by a story that began long before you and will continue long after you are gone. It gives context and meaning to your individual struggles and joys. Your personal story is no longer a solitary tale, but a verse in a grand, ongoing epic. However, the currents of this great river can be immensely powerful. When your small stream merges with it, the force of the larger body of water can be overwhelming. The official story, the accepted version of family history, or the dominant narrative of a nation can try to straighten the unique, meandering course of your personal memory. It can exert a powerful pressure to conform. If your personal memory of a historical event clashes with the story told in your textbooks or memorialized in public statues, a turbulent eddy is created at your point of confluence. Your mind experiences a dissonance. The great river's current says, "This is how it was." Your personal stream whispers, "But I remember it differently." To resolve this conflict, many streams are simply subsumed. The individual, contradictory memory is silenced, eroded away by the powerful, persistent flow of the shared narrative until the waters run clear and harmonious once more. This is how collective memory maintains its coherence. It is not just an archive. It is a living, political force that promotes certain stories and silences others. It has its own form of reconsolidation. A nation might re-examine its past during a major anniversary. New films are made, new books are written, public conversations take place. The entire society casts a net into its shared river. The memory is pulled into the light of the present, where it becomes soft and pliable. It is infused with the values, anxieties, and aspirations of the current generation. Then, it settles back into the riverbed, subtly reshaped. The heroes of the past might be reevaluated, the victims given a new voice, the narrative subtly but profoundly altered for the generations to come. The entire river has shifted its course. So the river flowing within you is a miraculous, complex entity. It is a layering of currents. On the surface, the fast, clear water of your own recent experiences. Beneath that, the deeper, warmer current of your family's stories. Deeper still, the slow, powerful, ancient flow of your culture and history. You are all of these things at once. You are a unique and personal stream, and you are also the great river of humanity. Your consciousness is the point of confluence, the place where all these waters meet and become one. But a river that only accumulates can become a swamp. It can become choked with the debris of every moment, every story, every memory, until it ceases to flow. For a river to remain healthy, for it to remain alive and clear, it needs another, equally important and often misunderstood, natural process. It needs the gift of forgetting. It needs to let the silt settle. Section 9. The gift of forgetting. We have journeyed far along our river of memory, marveling at its creation, its consolidation, its endless reinvention. We have seen how it carves the landscape of our minds and how it merges with the great rivers of our families and cultures. In all this, we have celebrated the act of remembering. But now, we must turn our gaze to a quiet, shadowy, and profoundly necessary process that makes it all possible. We must speak of the beauty and wisdom of the river's other half, the gentle, sacred act of letting go. We must appreciate the gift of forgetting. In a world that prizes data, that praises total recall, forgetting can seem like a failure, a flaw in the system, a frustrating loss of information. We imagine a perfect mind as a flawless library where no book is ever misplaced, or a perfect computer with an infinite hard drive. But your mind is not a library or a machine. It is a living ecosystem. And in any healthy ecosystem, decay is as important as growth. Forgetting is not a bug. It is a feature. It is the river's natural, elegant way of cleaning itself, of maintaining its flow, of making space for the new. Imagine the river of your life, but without forgetting. Every single sensation from every single moment would be preserved. Every trivial detail, the exact pattern of the ceiling tiles above your bed each morning, the taste of every sip of water you have ever taken, the face of every stranger you have passed on the street would be a permanent stone in the riverbed. The river would not flow. It would become a thick, choked sludge of meaningless data. It would be a prison of the past. To remember everything is a form of madness. You would be unable to form abstract thoughts, to see the bigger picture, because you would be forever buried under an avalanche of concrete, specific details. Forgetting is the silent editor that allows you to see the poem for the words. It is the process of extracting the gist, which we celebrated earlier. To get to the essence of that teacup moment, the feeling of peace, your mind must be allowed to forget the exact number of seconds you held the cup, the tiny imperfection on its rim, the specific background hum of the refrigerator. Forgetting these details is not a loss. It is a clarification. It is like silt settling to the bottom of the river, allowing the water to become clear and transparent, revealing the beautiful stones of true meaning that lie beneath. Let us watch how this gentle process works. Some forgetting is simply passive decay. A memory, especially one that was not encoded strongly or charged with emotion, is like a path trodden once in a forest. If it is not walked again, if the memory is not retrieved, the gentle work of time will reclaim it. Grasses will grow over it, leaves will fall upon it, and soon, the path will simply disappear, return to the forest floor. The neural connections that formed that memory trace, unused and unstrengthened, will weaken and be repurposed for new journeys. This is a quiet, efficient, and natural form of mental recycling. It is the mind tidying up after itself. Other forgetting is more active, a process we can call interference. The river is constantly flowing, and new water is always being added. The memory of what you ate for lunch today can interfere with the memory of what you ate for lunch last Tuesday. The new memory is fresher, more vibrant, and its current can wash over and erode the older, similar memory. This is particularly true for routine events. Your mind, in its wisdom, understands that it does not need to keep a perfect, detailed record of every single commute to work. It keeps a general script, a gist of the commute, and allows the specific, day-to-day details to wash away, making room for more important information. But perhaps the most profound form of forgetting is a protective one. It is the mind's ability to gently place a painful or traumatic memory into a deeper, less accessible part of the river. This is not about erasing the memory, but about reducing its accessibility. It is the mind building a gentle dam of silt and sand around a sharp, dangerous rock in the riverbed, so that you do not cut yourself on it every day. This is a form of healing. It allows the main current of your life to flow around the trauma, rather than constantly crashing into it. Over time, with healing and new experiences, the river might even carve a new, permanent channel, leaving the painful memory in a quiet, isolated oxbow lake, still part of the landscape, but no longer in the main flow of your daily consciousness. This is the grace in forgetting. It is an act of letting go that is essential for moving forward. To truly forgive someone, you must gently forget the sharpest edges of the hurt. You do not erase the memory of what happened, but you allow the intense, painful emotional dye to be diluted by the fresh waters of time and new experiences until it is a faint watercolor rather than a vibrant, painful stain. To grow and change as a person, you must be able to forget, or at least soften the memory of, the person you used to be. You must allow the old riverbeds to silt over, making way for new paths to be carved. We see this gift everywhere in nature. A forest must have fires to clear out the underbrush and make way for new growth. A snake must shed its old skin to continue its life. Your mind, too, must be allowed to shed its old, unnecessary, or painful memories to remain vital and forward-looking. Forgetting is the river's exhale. It is the release that makes the next inhale possible. So when you find yourself unable to recall a name or a specific detail from the past, do not be too quick to frustration. Perhaps you can see it differently. See it as a sign of a healthy, functioning mind, a mind that knows what is essential and what can be safely returned to the earth. You are witnessing the work of the silent, diligent gardener of your inner world, weeding the garden to allow the most important flowers to bloom more brightly. You are feeling the gentle, clarifying current of the river, letting the silt of the past settle so that the waters of the present can run clear and deep. The river, then, is a perfect, dynamic balance between the forces of remembering and forgetting. Remembering gives your life its narrative, its depth, its history. Forgetting gives your life its clarity, its lightness, its capacity for a future. One without the other would be monstrous. Together, they create the beautiful, ever-changing, ever-flowing stream that carries you through your days. And where does this river ultimately lead? It flows onward, to the very edge of the continent of the self, to its final and most important destination. Section 10. The Delta of Self. The river of your memory has traveled far. From its source in the high country of the present moment, through the organizing harbors and the deep, consolidating currents of the night. It has been joined by the powerful tributaries of emotion and has flowed through the great confluence of shared history. It has learned the wisdom of letting go, of allowing the silt of the unnecessary to settle. And now, the river senses its journey's end. The current slows, the water broadens, and the air itself begins to change. You can taste the faint, clean tang of salt on the wind. You can hear a new sound, not the murmur of the river, but the deep, rhythmic sigh of the ocean. We have arrived at the final landscape, the place where the river meets the sea. This is the delta of the self. A delta, in our physical world, is a place of creation. It is the land that is born from the river's long journey. It is built, particle by particle, from the rich sediment, the sand, the soil, and the silt that the river has carried with it from its source. The river slows, and it deposits its burden, creating a fertile, intricate, and ever-changing coastline. And so it is with you. You are not the river of memory itself, for that is a process, a flow. And you are not the vast, unknowable ocean of pure consciousness that lies beyond. You, your identity, your personality, the very essence of who you believe yourself to be, are the delta. You are the land that has been built, grain by grain, from the deposition of your own life's experiences. Look at this coastline of yourself. It is shaped by everything we have witnessed on our journey. Every memory, born from a single raindrop of now, was a particle of sand carried in the current. Every act of consolidation in the quiet of sleep was the process of carrying that sand closer to the sea. And here, at the delta, it has been laid down, becoming a tangible part of your ground. This coastline is not a static, finished thing. It is alive. Remember the act of retrieval, of reconstruction? Each time you remember, you're not just looking at your delta from a distance. You are the wind and the waves. You are a gentle tide washing over the shore, picking up a handful of sand from one place and setting it down in another. With every recollection, you subtly reshape your own coastline. This is why the person you are today is built from the same material as the person you were 10 years ago, yet the shape, the contour, the very feel of the land is different. You have been shaped by the weather of your own reflections. Look at the most fertile, vibrant parts of your delta, the places lush with life and color. These were built from the rich, dark soil carried by the emotional tributaries. Your greatest joys, your deepest loves, your most profound moments of learning, they did not just wash over you. They contributed the most nourishing sediment, creating the bedrock of your character, the high ground of your identity. And what of those strange formations along the shore? The sandbars that seem to appear from nowhere, the shimmering islands that feel both real and unreal? These are the mirages, the false memories. They too are part of your landscape. They are built from the river's creative power, from borrowed sand and imagined soil. They are part of your story, part of the unique and intricate topography of yourself. Your delta is not isolated. See how it touches and intertwines with the deltas of others? This is the great confluence made manifest. Your shoreline is shaped by the shared waters of your family, your culture, your history. You have given your sand to their shores, and they have given their soil to yours, creating a vast, interconnected archipelago of humanity. And the gentle tide of forgetting? It is the ocean's greatest gift to the delta. It is the force that washes away the lightest, most unstable silt, the debris of trivial moments, preventing your coastline from becoming a muddy, impassable swamp. It clarifies your edges. It keeps your shoreline defined against the vastness of the sea, making your shape, yourself, beautiful and distinct. So, do we remember the past, or do we simply reinvent it? As we stand here, on the soft ground of our own delta, watching the river of memory flow into the ocean of being, we can finally see the truth. The question itself presents a false choice. There is no separation. We are the reinvention. We are the living, breathing, constantly reforming story that our memory tells. The self is not a spectator watching the river go by. The self is the delta, created by the river, shaped by its currents, and defined by its meeting with the sea. The act of remembering is the act of self-creation, happening in every moment. The I you inhabit is a story, written in water and silt, a beautiful, temporary, and sacred piece of land, forever being born where the river of time meets the ocean of now. Here we rest, on the soft sands of your own personal coastline, at the end of our long journey tonight. The story is told. The river flows on, even in sleep, its currents gently sorting and strengthening the experiences of your day, preparing the ground for the person you will be when you wake. There is nothing more to do now, nothing to solve. The work of the mind will continue in its own deep, quiet, and mysterious way. All that is required of you is to let go. Let the rhythm of the ocean's sigh become the rhythm of your own breath. Inhaling calm, exhaling the day. Feel the solid ground of your bed beneath you, a safe and steady shore. The narrative is over, and tonight's story is now a small, gentle current added to your own magnificent river. Let the soft sounds and the quiet dark be a comforting blanket. Let the gentle tide of drowsiness pull you out into the deep, peaceful, and restorative ocean of sleep. Good night, dear traveler. May your dreams be kind, and your rest be deep.
Sleep well.